Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Svava Brooks. I'm so excited that you're joining us here today for the Journey to the Heart interview series, where we are talking to wonderful experts and professionals who are sharing their passion and unique approach for thriving. So I'm very excited to introduce to you a very special guest today, Suzanne Scurlock-Durana. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you.
So good to see you finally face to face, sort of over the internet. But before we go into our questions, I just want to tell our audience a little bit about you. So Suzanne is CMT, CST-D, right? That's, for those who know what that means. For more than 20 years, Suzanne has taught and mentored in the area of conscious awareness and its relationship to healing, leadership, and coaching. She has developed a uniquely creative approach to energy, presence, grounding, and integrative exercises taught beautifully in the Healing from the Core program, which includes a 6-level training series and a complementary audio series. She is passionate about teaching people practical skills that allow them to feel the joy of being present in each moment of their lives without burning out. To that end, she is the noted author of the book and companion audio, Full Body Presence, Learning to Listen to Your Body's Wisdom. And she's working on a highly anticipated book, which delves deeper into the intelligence of the human body. Just brilliant. Thanks again for being here, Suzanne. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you.
So, I just want to jump right into it here. How does a person's full body presence change and or get distorted once we go through trauma or when trauma happens?
Well, one of the things that I think is most important to remember is if we're going to define trauma, it can be anything from stress that goes on a daily level and builds up into a long-term trauma response in the body, such as going to a job where you're being berated, you have a boss that's abusive, or being in a war zone where you're not in any physical danger, but there's so much danger going on around you. It could be living in a marriage that's abusive. It could be any number of different things. So trauma can be a buildup of stress across time, or it can be a singular event that happens, like the thing that I write about in the beginning of my book about being strangled when I was 17. That was a single event. All of these have an effect on our physical body in that they take our normal perceptual lens, which in someone who's thriving is very wide. We feel life, we can feel the temperature of the air on our skin, the breath as it goes into us, the taste of food, good wine, whatever it is, the touch of our beloved or our animals. It takes that wide lens and brings it down to a really narrow focus. And we know that when your perceptual lens narrows like that we lose effectiveness. We lose effectiveness in our choices. We lose our creativity. All of our focus is on the goal of staying safe. And we actually start to burn out because the fight-flight system of the body has now kicked into gear. And whether it's doing it unconsciously at a low level or whether it's doing it at a much higher level from something that has just occurred, like what happens with the shaking response that you do in TRE, that is something that is going to narrow your perceptual lens and change your physiology. So on many, many levels, it changes us psychologically, it changes us physically, it changes us emotionally. And our full body presence is diminished. We go into, my term is disrupted body presence. We go into a state of being that, by the way, is everyone has some form of disrupted body presence. We're all on our way home to full body presence. But life kind of gives us disrupted body presence. And that is what happens with trauma in a
That's beautifully. I love how you explain that because, personally with my own history, I wasn't aware that that's how I was living. But now that I'm starting to relax and I'm just fascinated and intrigued by all the tools now about mindfulness and getting in touch with our bodies, I can feel like my my vision is expanding. I can see more and more what's coming on the horizon, and I'm present to it. Like I can, like I talk about, I still get fear, but I can see it a mile away, right? It's like, it's giving me that opportunity. So I loved how you explained that it's just your body's doing what it needs to do, like shut down and protect itself. And for so many of us, it's from even our daily stressful lives that we don't step back into relaxing and opening up here. So thank you for explaining that.
The other piece that I think is really important is that when we are able to begin to heal, just what you just said, when we start to heal, when the lens starts to widen, when we start to feel more, what the primary thing that gives us is choices. When my lens is this wide and all I can see is what's going on, I mean, your viewers might want to just take their hands right now and make it like a kaleidoscope or a paper towel tube with your hands. See how much of the room around you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Not you're missing a ton of things. All you're looking at is the goal of staying safe. When it widens, then I actually can feel what's going on in my body. I can feel the signals from my body when I'm not safe, when I'm going into a situation that's actually not safe. And I can start to make different choices. I've often said to people, you're still going to slip and fall when you begin this process, probably multiple times, but you're going to get up faster. You're going to make a different choice about what direction you go in when you get up faster, and you're going to enjoy yourself a lot more in the process once you've dusted yourself off and figured out I call it the rabbit hole of fear, what that rabbit hole looks like, how to recognize it, how to not go down it the next time, and how to make a different choice. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So how do the practices of embodiment that you teach help people recover from trauma and the traumatic memories, right, that get stored in our bodies, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that also happens when your perceptual lens narrows, and one of the things we know about trauma, is when people have trauma where there's nothing they can do, the trauma is happening to them, particularly if early childhood trauma has happened where you were very small, whatever happened was very large. The response of the body, if you talk about fight, flight, and freeze, is freeze. When freeze happens, we literally lose sensation. We get frozen, certain parts of our body get frozen, or we get locked out, literally dissociating. All of these are gifts at the time. They help us to survive. However, they're not helpful in the long run, because if I am frozen out of my gut, and my gut instinct is the best place for me to feel whether I'm in danger currently, I'm at a disadvantage because I can no longer feel whether or not I'm in danger or whether something's really right for me, because I'm not in my gut anymore. It's kind of frozen with whatever the trauma was. And we see this a lot in craniosacral therapy, where we come with a kind of a touch that really meets the tissue, really honors the person and the pace that they can receive touch. When that occurs, we come in, we make that connection, we rest into their body and sit with what's going on and help them to start to feel safe, to notice that you as the therapist are safe. Then what begins to happen is that frozenness starts to melt, and there's no agenda. I'm just here with you. Then that frozenness starts to melt. And then when that occurs, oftentimes that shivering, shaking response happens, or heat happens and comes out of the body. Lots of really wonderful things can happen in the process of healing. And so the process of touch that goes on in craniosacral therapy is very important. In the full body presence work, what I teach people is I ask them questions and help them start to pick up sensations, first order sensations in their body. So to start to notice the temperature of the air when they're breathing. Pay attention to the sensation of their sitting bones as they're sitting, or their feet on the ground if they're walking. What does it feel like as you swing your arms? What's the temperature of the air on your skin? So first order sensations that have no interpretations, there's no story, it's not a psychological issue. Just what are the first order sensations of your body? And we know from the latest research that's going on that the body is, that that we do not, our bodies are not a top-down system, brain to body. It actually, it's about 80% bottom to top in the vagal system, for instance, with Stephen Porges's work. So we know that the more we can feel and sense in our bodies, the more we can return to the sensations of our bodies, the more we can feel connected to safe external resources, like the feeling of grounding into the earth. Those kinds of things return us to life. They return us to our full body presence.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. I mean, I can relate. I mean, I left my body during my childhood a lot of times, and I never, of course, told anyone until I started healing as an adult, because people are going to lock me up if I tell them, half the time I'm not even in my body and I'm floating up here, but I can see, and I'm grateful that my body had that ability to protect itself. But I could see, because of that disconnect, that my gut feeling, right, that connection to myself was the hardest thing in my journey. I was very comfortable living here up, but really allowing myself to drop into my body and really feel comfortable in my own home, so to speak, was the greatest challenge. So, and I love what you said there in your cranial sacral work, is that where you, the therapist, bring that loving, grounded presence to the person who maybe doesn't feel anything yet in that part of their body, right?
Right.
And to kind of lead them forward and show them the way.
Right. So not only as a cranial therapist, one of the things that, the two-pronged piece of cranial is that we want to have a non-invasive touch. That's the second thing, is your presence as a therapist. So your full body presence as a therapist transmits to the person on your table that they're safe. My energy field isn't in your face trying to get you to do something. I'm resting back. I'm connecting with you. I'm very present. And I don't have an agenda for you. I'm just being present, connecting with you and your healing process, whatever that requires. Yeah.
Yeah, and that trust that you display by just, you're over here trusting yourself, while you are going to trust that this other person has a body just like yours, and their body can be trusted with their own internal process and healing. So,
I loved the stories of, both Bessel van der Kolk and Peter Levine talk in their most recent books, which I think were brilliant. Peter talks about the physician, the woman physician, who came at the site of his accident when he was hit by that car, and her presence was so calming, so quiet. Her voice, she was so present with him that his nervous system immediately registered safety and began to drop. All of the trauma responses just dropped and dropped and dropped. Her voice was very calming. Everything about her presence is what brought him out of the shock of that trauma. And I loved it, because that's the way we think of being really good craniosacral therapists, is that our presence really gives that message of safety and no agenda, and really wanting to listen to your highest wisdom, whatever that is. Our whole idea is that we will make connection with your inner wisdom for whatever it needs in this particular session.
Yeah. And that, just that grounding presence, I think has also made me a better parent. I'm more, when I can read it in my kids, even my husband, when he's had a busy day and he's stressed out and he just needs to vent, I'm very intentional with my family members now. I'm just, over here pouring love into you. It's going to, not my agenda, just here to support you. And, I trust that you will find the right solution for you in your time. And I'm happy here to give you some feedback. So, all that is, I think, made me a better present parent as it would, if I were a therapist. So.
Absolutely. And that's definitely helped me to be a better parent, for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the good thing. We need to practice, at home, right? Before we start going off and helping strangers. So once we're out of that survival, how can the full body present practices help us thrive in our lives again? And maybe if we go, before we even go all the way to the thrive, I mean, what in your experience is the process of, you know, someone that hasn't been in touch with their bodies for perhaps a long time? You know, what have you seen in your clients? How quickly does it happen? You know, what can people expect?
You know, one of the things that I see, and I particularly, I have a workshop called Trauma Recovery to Ecstasy. That's one of my advanced level trainings in the Healing from the Core curriculum. And I've had a number of severely traumatized people in that training across the years. But the thing that I've seen that's been most helpful, you know, we start by reestablishing safe touch in that workshop. And safe touch means, of course, what I just said. No agenda, gentle touch. The person who's being touched is in full control of how much connection happens and at what pace it happens. So that's the bottom layer that I put into that therapy, whether I'm doing one-on-one therapy with someone in the treatment room or whether I'm teaching. You know, we have exercises where people make that connection with touch, establish it, feel safe, begin to relax. And most of the time, the trauma occurred with some level of touch that was not good. Okay? So when that occurs, the healing doorway is also through touch, and through touch that is not invasive, no agenda. You know, I sound like a broken record.
No, I hear you.
We as human beings naturally think that we know what somebody needs. And when someone's been traumatized, the last thing we need is for someone to put something on them that they think that we need. So we start with reestablishing safe touch. We actually do have an exercise somewhat like the work that you do in TRE of the shivering, shaking exercise. We call it shiver, shake, soothe, and settle. So we have that level in the training. We have a whole process in the training of listening to your own body and deepening your own awareness of your own system and learning how to hold the places in yourself where you feel frozen and locked out, and then allowing other people to do that. We work with different portals in the physical body that are calming to the nervous system. So there are many different things that we do that layer by layer really build over that 5-day period huge change for people. Now, having said that, the people I know that have had really severe trauma, when I've tracked them across many years, the people that really made big changes were people who went home from the training, used the skills that were in the training, used their when you're now back starting to feel your body again, now you can make wiser decisions in your life. So when you get home, you need to find a good trauma therapist. If you don't live in my area, and many people don't, they come from all over the world for that training. Find a good trauma therapist who can put hands on you and continue the process. That might mean a good SE therapist, like Peter Levine's people that know about somatics and are good psychologists. It might include some sort of physical therapy rehabilitation for areas of the body that have been injured or traumatized. So for children that have been incested or women that have been raped, I'll often say, go find a physical therapist that does pelvic floor work, because that kind of a therapist really helps you start to really feel that. So what I see is the people who really start to shine year after year from working with it, take the skills, work with them, and use the internal guidance system now to choose things to do at home so that it continues beyond the 5 days that we have together. And then oftentimes, interestingly enough, I have 2 people, actually 3 or 4 people now, who came to that training. They would have said very broken, you know, feeling very traumatized, very shaky, sort of beside themselves with fear, so to speak, like not in their bodies at all, but beside themselves. And now they are assisting me in the trainings. They are presenting the material out in the world. But these are people who were absolutely vigilant about doing their own work. So they left that training, they got the message, they went and started getting the regular work they needed at home and the practices that they needed. They did grounding and filling every day for a year or 2. You know, I say to people, give yourself 30 days to get it into a habitual pattern in your body. People that have been traumatized have come back to me and said, forget the 30 days, I needed a year, you know, every day having that practice of grounding and filling. whether it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes, they really were doing it for themselves. Yeah. Does
I
that answer?
understand. Yes, it does. And I mean, just like, any type of healing and, practice, or even, going to a therapist, unless you start to really apply the things that you're learning, making better choices, right? Whether it's you think and you understand now what happened and wasn't your fault, and what can you do differently and apply some of that in your life. The same thing applies here with our body. So yes, it makes complete sense.
Absolutely.
So I mean, and it's beautiful to hear that, the ones that come to you and perhaps felt the most broken are now leading the way with you in terms of, being, very good teachers, because they've been there. Right? So they're probably very good at it.
Very sensitive people, very capable of listening, being present for, but they were willing to do their own work. They really put themselves, and they were committed to themselves enough to really stick with it, to not say, oh gosh, now I'm healed and off I go back to the same patterns I was doing before. No, that doesn't work like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in a way, they're doing what you talk about, they're out of their survival, and now they are taking those full body practices to help themselves thrive again, right? That was the next question.
Yes. And also, by the way, thriving requires that you know how to listen to your insides, to your heart, to your gut, to your bones. Like when something really feels right in your bones, you step up and you stand for it. You don't let it go by. And that's what thriving is. When you're in your life, you're loving what you're doing. You're feeling good about who you are. You're present. You're showing up. You're able to feel what's happening. All of those things are things that are so, so, so helpful to the qualities of life of thriving. And it also, that begins to give you resilience. I think of the grounding and filling exercise that we do as a builder of resilience. It is something that fills up our inner energy reservoir, if you will, so that the container of our being, our physical bodies, feel fuller, more relaxed. You can feel your skin, you can feel your bones, you can feel your gut and your heart, and everything in between, your feet and legs, everything. That's when you can kind of say, okay, I'm thriving. I'm choosing what I want in my life. I'm following through. I feel committed to it. I know I'm worth it. And those are the things that you don't see most of the time with trauma survivors, particularly early trauma survivors, because when we're kids, we make a decision that if this bad thing happened to us, it must be because there must be something wrong with me. There must be something wrong with me. It can't be my parent. It can't be that person that hurt me. It can't be the teacher or the priest or whoever it was. It can't be their fault. It must be something wrong with me. And that's actually one of the first things that has to be overcome, is that faulty thinking, because limiting beliefs will hold us back for sure. Mm-hmm. And they narrow our perceptual lens, by the way. That's, if something wrong with me, there goes my lens, and here I am, right with that narrow view. And it's very important to get that wide again.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that, and I'm work in progress. For sure. I can't say that I can feel the truth in my bones yet, but I can feel it in my heart, and I can feel it in my gut now. And I can feel more and more that connected presence, in my legs. I ground myself, and, I can feel, the energy come into myself from the top of my head. But the feeling in my bones, I'm working on that one. But I also know that with the TRE, and the practice of getting in touch, feeling more warmth and movement inside of me has made me more aware of, what my body can handle and the things that I need to do to take better care of it. And as a result of it, more inward focus than just, defending and protecting and waiting for the other shoe to fall constantly. So I understand it.
That's a very interesting thing you brought up. Most of the time, trauma survivors have an external focus because they've had to make sure that they were safe. And almost always, trauma survivors don't have a whole lot of internal sensation to begin with, because it wasn't in your body, and B, the safest way when you're little is to be out there that are out there, just making sure that everything is safe. Yeah. So that inward is actually one of the most key pieces. And it's one of the reasons why I start with teaching people how to go in their bodies, close your eyes, feel your feet on the ground, and get more sensation in your physical body. Yeah. Yeah. That's a key piece. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's, and you know, that's was kind of affirming hearing, you know, or reading your book not that long ago, is that, you know, I talk about the journey kind of unfolds. It's kind of a natural process in your body, and who you are kind of knows what it needs next. And, you know, just like you said, you know, it's not the therapist to dictate what you need. It's like you kind of know. And it's been interesting as I am stepping up for the next level, all of a sudden the right book comes along, or the right teacher, right? Like they say, when the student is ready. And I was starting to do more of that body sensation work. And so when I found your book and your exercises, it really like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I knew was what the very thing key that I needed to do. So it's amazing how that comes together. So what are the main ways that we can affect our full body presence ourselves?
Well, some of the simple ways are things that you also see in the research that I use. Your breath, like to bring your breath inward, listen to it, feel it. Breathing through your nose, we know, stimulates the parasympathetic system. This comes from some of the research they're doing in yoga now. Walking, anything where you've got your body moving cross body, where you're actually activating the two hemispheres of the brain in your movement and cardiovascular system being stimulated, that helps you get more to your body. The process of turning your awareness inward, like the ground and fill that we're going to do at the end of our interview here, that is a primary way. That I call that the cornerstone of my work. If you can, with eyes open or closed, allow your awareness to drop inside and just start to pay attention with curiosity, with openness, with an openness to discovery. Like you're in neutral. You're not expecting anything. You're not willing anything. You're just, and who am I today? What is my experience of this person that is me now in this moment? That's the piece that the grounding and filling gives people. Who am I? Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And a question that we really are seeking the answer to for most of our lives, right? But we constantly are looking on the outside of ourselves instead of going in and learning how to connect and feel safe in there, to really hear the answers, right? So what is the cornerstone of your practices, and how is it important? And then I know you're going to give us an example of one of your exercises.
Well, actually, the cornerstone is that grounding and filling exercise. I talk about taking people inside and checking into how they are now, and then making a safe connection down into the energy field of the earth. You know, it's the magnetic field that we're connected to our whole lives while we're alive. I mean, when you think about it, even if we're up in an airplane at 35,000 feet, until we're out of the gravitational field of the earth, we're connected to it. It holds us to the earth. So if we're in an airplane, we're sitting in the seat. We're connected to the seat without doing anything because of gravity. When our feet, just sitting right here, resting, our feet are resting on the floor. Our butt is in the couch or the chair that you're sitting on. All of those things are a natural part of being here on earth. And so I make a connection to this external resource that is unconditional, it's safe, doesn't have any agenda for us. And we know that the energy field of the earth is very nurturing to the cells of our body. So it's a process of slowing down, tuning in, connecting, and then refilling ourselves purposefully, mindfully, filling with nourishing, nurturing sensation, so that our own inner energy reservoir is much fuller, which causes that perceptual lens to widen, which allows us to thrive and have resilience. So all of those things are the cornerstone of what I do. And then all the other work that I do in my advanced level trainings builds on that cornerstone of being present in this moment in sensation now.
That's beautiful. And it's only right when we are then, relaxed and present and at peace in our bodies. And like I said, we allow some openness that we can really take in new information into our brain. Like just like, I have children and I know they're not learning much in school if they're not happy or if they're struggling in life, right? Then they're just trying to make it through the day or whatever is happening. But once they're at peace again, and they're open to that curiosity, right? That needs to come from within about learning and trying on new things.
Right, that's right.
So,
and it's a big shift from survival, or the world is adversarial and I have to be watching and positioning myself and staying in power, to here I am, I'm present. I trust that my body will give me the signals I need if I'm not safe. And it will also give me the signals I need if there's something I need to move towards, because it's really for my highest good. And life and thriving is really about collaborating with people, connecting with people, opening to what's going on around you. It's not about hunkering down, tightening your borders, deciding you don't like something or someone because they look different than you do. All of those things are actually life-taking, not life-enhancing. So this process is one that's very life-enhancing.
Beautiful. I love that. So are you ready to lead us through grounding and filling?
And filling. So if you would, allow yourself to, wherever you're sitting, get your feet on the floor. And I will just say very quickly, I spent 17 years with a yoga practice where I sat in, a Vipassana practice, or it was also a Hatha yoga practice for a while, in good lotus position with my knees and feet tucked up underneath of me. And I got very strong at bringing the energy up the central channel and back down, and all of those things that come from a long-term meditation practice. What I didn't get was the capacity to walk in the world with my spirituality. We're at a time and place where we need to be able to walk in the world with our spiritual nature and the flow of energy coming through us. So I say to people when I do this practice, get your bottoms of your feet on the floor. Do not tuck them up under you, because it will inhibit the flow of chi, the flow of energy and nurturing sensation through your legs if they're all pretzeled like that. Okay? So if you would, get your feet on the floor, get something for your back so you're comfortable and you're resting back. And I'm going to ask you to invite your curiosity, your openness to discovery, and to allow your eyes to just very gently close. Please do not do this if you're driving, but I'm assuming you're not going to be driving when you're watching this. But allowing yourself to let your attention drop back into your body as you breathe. You might be curious about the temperature of the air as you breathe. Noticing the temperature as it comes in through your nose, how it changes as it goes down your throat, the sensation of the rise and fall of your ribs and your chest as you inhale and exhale. Just noticing how your breath is. Are there any areas where things are a little restricted, or is it pretty full and easy? Allowing your awareness to drop into your spine, feeling the sensation of it against whatever you're leaning against. Is it warm or cool? Being curious about the sensations of your shoulders and your arms and your hands. Letting your attention drop. As I said, it is easiest with your eyes closed. You can leave them semi-open, though, if you tend to fall asleep with this kind of exploration. And allowing, as you exhale, your awareness to drop from your chest down into your belly and your torso on the next exhale. Being curious about your sitting bones. Whatever you're resting on, are they both resting equally? I'm noticing that my left one is kind of curled. My right one is just fully engaged. How are your sitting bones feeling? Can't do this right or wrong. There is no right or wrong way. Whatever you notice is just information. You might be noticing in your torso a sense of spaciousness or a sense of density, or a sense of emptiness or numbness. Me too. You may notice that one side of your torso feels different than the other. Often report this. Or both sides may feel exactly whatever you're feeling is fine. And allowing your awareness, your conscious awareness, your attention, think a little further. How are your thighs feeling right now? Bones of your thighs all the way up to your skin, your knees, calves and shins. Down into your feet. You even want to wiggle your feet a little bit. Rub them back and forth on whatever the surface is that they're resting on. Feeling the sensation of where your feet meet the floor. Or if you have shoes on, feeling the inside of your shoes. Comfortable, feel free to leave them on. If your shoes are uncomfortable or constricting, feel free to slip them off and let your feet make direct contact with the floor beneath them. When you're ready, allow your awareness, your attention, to just drop straight down into the earth, through the bottoms of your feet, right on down to the surface of the earth. So you were putting down roots, light beams, or riding a river of awareness, whatever metaphor works for you. Allow yourself to feel the sensation of making safe, unconditional connection with this resource that's with us. Do this at a pace that works for you. So if you just want to put down little teeny tiny roots, like little capillaries on the surface, that's fine. You are diving in with tap roots for the center of the earth. Allow yourself, before we begin this filling process, just let go of any excess tension that you brought to this exercise. Maybe from something that happened earlier today. Take a deep breath and just exhale it. You can let it run down and out like water, right on down into the earth. Then ask yourself, what would feel most nourishing and nurturing in my feet? And allow that nourishing sensation, whatever that is, begin to soak into the bottoms of your feet, the bones of your feet, all the way up to your skin. You just set the intention and then watch what shows up in terms of sensation. Feel it, sense it. Your feet know what will nourish them. Isn't your head willing it? You may feel a pulse or a hum. You may feel a wave motion. I often feel that. You may feel like a particular color, texture. Or you may simply notice that your feet start to feel different. You can't even name it. But when you set the intention, take in nourishing sensation, your feet begin to feel different than they did before. And then begin to allow this nourishing sensation to move on into your ankles. In your ankles, what would feel most nourishing? Calves and your shins. Taking your time. Do this at a pace that works for you and in a manner that works for you. Feeling the sensations of nourishment, nourishing, soaking into the cells of your body. If you're moving a little quicker than I am or slower than I am, go at your own pace. What would feel most nourishing and nurturing in your knees? Oftentimes I like to put my hands on my knees and just gently rub circles on my knees. It helps me to get more sensation there. All the nooks and crannies of your knees, allowing this river of nourishing sensation to soak in. On into your thighs, the bones of your thighs, all the way out to your skin. If you come to an area that's been injured or had trauma of some kind, you may notice that it doesn't have an easy time accepting nourishing sensation. Just cradle it, let it receive what it can, and then gently move on, no agenda. And allowing your awareness to move into your sacrum. Wonderful, big, sturdy, V-shaped bone at the bottom of the spine. Nourish your sacrum. And your two hip bumps, the ilia, that form the pelvic bowl with the sacrum. And the bones of your pelvis be nourished. And all of your internal organs, your digestive system, your reproductive system. Each system soak up what it needs. We don't have to know what it is. We can just ask that part of our body with our awareness there. What feel most nourishing in my belly? Notice what sensation shows up. Good. Yeah. And letting your spine begin to fill and be nourished. Each vertebra. And you may discover that if you have any pain anywhere in your spine, as so many people do, that where the rest of your spine wants a warm, rose-colored, nurturing sensation, this area in pain may be asking you for a cool blue-green or a silver or some other texture or color. And let it receive that, whatever it needs, whatever it's asking for. And letting this river of nourishing sensation coming in from the earth, continuing on into your pelvis, your midsection, heart and lungs. You may even want to just place a hand on your heart and just ask your heart, what would feel most nourishing right now? What color, what texture, what sensation? People who are visual will often see a particular form of nourishing energy. And I'm going to ask you, if you are such a visual person, not to stop visualizing. Let yourself also feel that color in your body. What does a warm red-orange feel like to you? It's an exploration. Whatever you see and feel and sense is yours to keep. What would nourish your lungs? Top of your lungs, or chest. As your spine fills and your ribs are soaking up nourishing sensation, What would nourish your shoulders? Yeah. Temperature, color, texture, sensation. Good. Good. And then how about right on down your arms into your hands and fingers? What I often say to people is if you're comfortable, let your fingers wiggle. You might even want to put your hands and arms up above your head and just stretch out, really letting all of these pathways fill with nourishing sensation. Good. Got it. How about on into your throat and your neck? What would nourish and nurture your throat? Back into your cervical spine, up into your jaw, face, ears, your eyes, occiput, back of your head. Letting all of your cranium just fill with nourishing sensation. All the structures of your brain, all the fluids and membranes, nerves, everything soaking and filling. And as your whole system begins to fill up with this nourishing sensation, let it move right on out the crown of your head, right on out the crown of your head, showering down around you, bathing your skin and the energy field that runs through it and around it. Yeah. And if you feel any pressure at the top of your head right now as you're sensing this, you can just reach right up. You can either rub the crown of your head right here or grab your hair right there and lift up just lightly on the crown of your head. It opens the crown and allows this flow to move through so that you truly do become a conduit between the earth and the heavens with this full container of who you are. So take a moment now. We've just taken about 10 minutes to slow down, tune in, connect with a unconditional, wonderful resource that's with us all the time, the energy of the earth. You've allowed yourself as best you can right now in this moment to soak up and fill up with nourishing sensation throughout the entire container of your being, your physical body, and the energy field that runs through it and around it. So notice how it feels now inside compared to when we began. Take an inner selfie or a snapshot, a sensation snapshot, how it feels now. When we can move through our lives with an energy reservoir that's full rather than depleted and empty, it enables us to relax and enables us to so yourself some gratitude. You've just taken the time to do this. And if something like this can be a practice for you every day until it is habitual, it really will change your life. When you're ready, allow your eyes to open. Drink in your environment. Be nurtured by all that you can see.
Wow, thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome.
That
How
was
do you
really
feel?
good.
How do you feel?
Well, there's a lot of tingling going on here. So you bring something extra to this practice when we get to do this with you. So, but I'm also, as I'm opening my eyes, it's brighter in here. You can see more light.
It is for me too, and I've done this practice thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times, and every time I do it, I feel a little bit more alive. Yeah, yeah.
And I loved how you talked about my body knows exactly what feels soothing and comforting to me, and I was surprised in what I felt but I've always known water is extremely soothing to me. So it felt like the warm water was just kind of bubbling up in my legs and, kind of like it was being poured in a glass or something. And it was just like, oh yes, that feels so nice.
Well, you'll notice there's a difference between what we just did and guided imagery. You know, in guided imagery, someone tells you what to see. Let's go into your heart. In your heart, find a golden ball, let the ball expand. My work is really about taking you and introducing you to your body, giving you options, and then helping you to see what it is that would nourish and nurture you most. This is what gives you boundaries, by the way. When your container, when your energy reservoir is full, you're in your skin. You notice when something's coming down that ain't great, and you can actually say, stop, no, you're not crossing this boundary. But when I'm depleted, when I'm coming down with something, when I haven't been sleeping well, when I'm irritated or angry or frustrated, I'm depleted and I'm not as at home in my boundaries. And so stuff kind of can cross the boundary without my realizing it. And then I'm suddenly feeling really crappy about something that occurred that I wasn't aware of. So having a healthy boundary is a big part of what I teach people, and how boundaries are so mutable and changeable, and how they do change in our lives as we go. Because the ability to connect is also dependent on having a healthy boundary. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That makes so much sense. Makes so much sense. So this was amazing. Thank you, Suzanne. It's just, you are such a blessing, and I'm so happy to know that you're out there in the world doing the work that you do. And now for our audience who want to continue to reach out to you and perhaps even attend some of your workshops, we're going to include a link underneath this interview for them to find you. But can you tell them a little bit, what is your website again?
The website is www.healingfromthecore.com.
Okay. And what can they find there?
Everything. We have products, we have free downloads, we have gifts, we have workshops, descriptions of the workshops, we have links to other things that are very helpful. We have lots of different ways that people can interact with us. I have a blog called Presence Matters, and I'll be actually blogging about you at some point and how much fun this is going to be to be on your conference. I think that we will also have some sort of a free or big discount for your listeners during the course of the conference. So be looking for that as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, and I really appreciate your interviewing me. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. And just the exercise that you did here with today, like you said, it's such a big gift, and a gift it can be for those that, will take it on and start to practice it. I mean, I know you've seen it work for lots of people in your lives, and I know it's had a huge impact on my life. So thank you again for your generosity and for your time.
You're very welcome.